Namo Phat, good morning. Thank you for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fourth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I vow to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and to relieve others of their suffering. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I'm determined to speak truthfully, with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I will not spread news that I do not know to be certain, and will not criticize or condemn things of which I am not sure. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or the community to break. I'm determined to make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. For our Dharma readings, we're reading Working with the Five Hindrances by Ajahn Thiradhammo, and this is from a section on reflecting with the hindrances in the introduction. At the ultimate level, there is no permanent self which has hindrances to be got rid of. There are only self-supporting processes which we grasp and identify as being ours. So trying to destroy certain aspects of self-identity just results in subverting them into other aspects of self-identity, because grasping at an illusory self is still functioning. For example, if you try to get rid of your desires, you become a control freak. If you try to get rid of aversion, you become depressed. You struggle to get rid of lethargy and drowsiness, and you're despairingly exhausted. The mind was already lacking energy, and trying to fight your way through it exhausts you further. You try to get rid of restlessness, and you have anxiety attacks. You try to get rid of your doubt and become a raging fundamentalist. However, if we can skillfully engage and work wisely with the hindrances, they can be transformed into increasing self-awareness, self-knowledge, and self-liberation. For example, the hindrance of doubt can be transformed into reflective thought. Rather than just doubting everything, you can investigate these doubts to determine what is worth considering and what is not. At its extreme, doubt can just paralyze you, but if you can engage skillfully with doubt, it can become inquiry. What's going on here? Who is doubting anyway? Then there's an opening for investigating and finding out what's really going on. Likewise, with all the other hindrances, when they can be transformed with wisdom, they are actually reconstituted as valuable spiritual qualities. Of course, in the process, we also relinquish those aspects of selfhood which nurture the hindrances. What aspect of selfhood are we grasping which results in this form of hindrance? For example, if you keep having anger arise from a feeling that you have been wronged by someone, maybe you need to surrender the conceit that I have been wronged. Right and wrong are sometimes quite subjective. Which I is still grasping? The thought of being wrong. Until we are awakened, we are still functioning from the realm of the ego. The precious ego really wants to get rid of all these nasty things. It's humiliating for your ego to accept I've got hindrances, whereas it's a real pat on the back for it to say, I haven't got any hindrances, I just chased them all out. The ego wants to triumph over them and come out the better for it. But ultimately, that's never going to work, since it is still playing ego's game. Unfortunately, however, it can seem to be working. You chase out your aversion, but you end up with depression. In fact, you're probably depressed about your aversion, which has just gone underground. As the saying goes, sad is mad. So it seems as if you don't have any aversion anymore, and perhaps depression is more socially acceptable these days than aversion, anger, and aggression. But it's not going to work in the long term. It's still aversion incognito and has not been fully resolved. We have to be very vigilant and reflective, because that sense of self goes on functioning in the background with its dominant attitude of conquering the hindrances and coming out on top as a bigger and better self. It takes some degree of openness, stability, and clarity of mind to be able to see the hindrances clearly, because our self has identified with them as being our self, our point of reference, our stable, familiar self. These are my desires, and my aversion, and the rest of these things. That's just how the self has formed itself. That's how self-identity is created in the first place. And these hindrances reveal what is being grasped at to keep nourishing that self-identity. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me this morning.